Trading Places from 1983 was one of the biggest comedy hits of the decade, but it was far more than just another SNL-style comedy vehicle for Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. In the streets of Philadelphia, the homeless and street-smart small-time criminal Billy Ray Valentine, played by Eddie Murphy, is arrested by the police after falsely being accused of theft. At the same time, the successful and arrogant commodities broker Louis Winthrop III, played by Dan Aykroyd, works for the prestigious firm Duke & Duke. He's engaged to a high society woman named Penelope and lives a life of complete privilege. Yet the two billionaire brothers and investors Randolph and Mortimer Duke make a bet. For just $1, they wager that they can turn the street hustler Valentine into a successful broker and degrade the privileged Winthrop into a criminal homeless man in a matter of days. In short, the Dukes force Valentine and Winthrop to trade places. Winthrop is systematically stripped of his job, his money, his house, and his fiancée through a carefully orchestrated scheme. Meanwhile, Valentine is taken out of prison, instilled in Winthrop's luxurious home, dressed in his expensive suits, and introduced as the new broker at Duke & Duke. Within days, Winthrop loses everything. He's arrested, humiliated, and ends up homeless in the street. Valentine, on the other hand, adapts quickly to the world of the rich and demonstrates real talent for commodities trading, even generating significant profits for the Dukes. Eventually, Winthrop and Valentine cross paths and realize they are both victims of the Duke's perverse game. With the help of the prostitute Ophelia, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, and the butler Coleman, they devise a plan to take revenge on the brothers. Using an ingenious trick, they manipulate the frozen concentrated orange juice market and bring the Dukes to the brink of ruin. Winthrop and Valentine emerge as the winners. They have not only exacted their revenge, but also made a fortune. Trading Places is one of Eddie Murphy's most famous films and quintessential piece of Reagan-era social commentary, a time when the liberal idea of the American melting pot was everywhere in entertainment media. Class and success are portrayed here as largely social constructs. Environment and external circumstances determine a person's life path far more than innate qualities. The question of nature versus nurture receives a clear answer. It is not nature, but nurture alone that decides success or failure. The story begins with the seemingly simple but insidious bet made by the Duke brothers. These two elderly white men of the highest elite observe two completely different individuals, the successful privileged broker Louis Winthrop and the poor black street hustler Billy Ray Valentine. While one brother believes in a seamless transition between their position, the other is skeptical. The two men represent the classic debate over whether nature or nurture is decisive. Yet the Dukes also embody the financial elite of the Western world. They play with people's lives like pieces on a chessboard, and that purely out of boredom and for their own amusement. This is underscored by the fact that the lives of the two men they use for their wager are worth exactly $1 to them. Already in the opening scene, the attitude of this representative elite becomes clear. Billy Ray, still a street hustler, asks the Dukes for a quarter in the streets. They gave him nothing. To their black butler, they give only $5 as a Christmas bonus, $2.50 from each brother. Metaphorically speaking, the white system gives the black man nothing. Louis Winthrop III, by contrast, was born, as the name already suggests, into systematic privilege, and therefore received from birth everything that was denied to Valentine. In one of the opening scenes, Valentine is falsely accused of theft, despite his innocence. No one believes his protests. Instead, the police immediately trust Winthrop's accusations. This scene functions as an example of structural racial profiling and the prejudgment of black men by white institutions. When Valentine asks for a lawyer, none of the present attorneys step forward to defend him. These lawyers are all portrayed as white men too. It is another illustration that the Western system primarily serves white people and leaves black individuals like Valentine behind. Only when the Dukes decide to use Valentine for their wager do they invest in him. They take him out of prison, give him suits, a car, a villa, and even a white butler named Coleman. This creates an ironic reversal of racial dynamics. The white butler now serves the black elite broker Valentine. Money in general has no intrinsic value for the Dukes in this context. They spend it freely for their entertainment, but they would never voluntarily share it, for example with their black employees or with the begging Valentine from the opening scene. It is a symbol of the elite's indifference toward the black community and its struggles in America. The elites surrounding the Dukes regularly meet in a gentleman's club that consists exclusively of white men. Here the elite decides how the world works, while women and minorities are excluded from the discussion. On the walls of the club hang portraits of historical figures such as Abraham Lincoln, all of them old white men. This serves as a metaphor for the deeply rooted historical dominance of a purely white homogeneous elite in the West. To drive Winthorpe into poverty, the Duke stage a fake theft, in which he appears to be the culprit. This leads to the second reversal of classical social relations, this time for Winthorpe. His privileges are revoked, his bank account frozen, his fiancée leaves him, and his friends turn against him. The role reversal remains, however, a game controlled by the Dukes. In the final act, they make it clear that they intend to dispose of Valentine once the wager is over. One of them says to the other, "We should get rid of Valentine. I will not have an N-word running my business on a permanent basis." In the German version, they actually used the N-word, as nobody in the 80s gave a damn. In a key scene, the Dukes explain their business model. They position themselves as pure middlemen in stock trading. Whether prices rise or fall is irrelevant to them. They profit from every transaction. Valentine aptly compares this to a bookmaker who wins regardless of the outcome of a bet. This portrait serves as a critique of the financial system. The house always wins. The system itself is structurally unfair and benefits only the elite. Valentine further proves in a scene where he invests the Duke's money in pork bellies that he can understand the stock market better than the Dukes themselves, without any formal education or training. This suggests that superiority in the upper-class working world is just as constructed as in all other aspects of social life. Valentine can not only effortlessly replace Winthorpe, but could even replace the Dukes, as he has proven by outperforming them with his stock trades. For Winthorpe, though, it's the prostitute Ophelia, who helps him and treats him with genuine humanity, while everyone else has turned away from him. The message is clear: authentic human relationships do not arise in the upper class, but only outside elite structures. True connection can only be found in poverty, while in wealth even family becomes an illusion. This is symbolized in one of the final scenes when the Duke brothers lose everything and Randolph suffers a heart attack. Instead of helping his brother, Mortimer reacts coldly and indifferently, saying only "screw him." The only thing that interests him is the fortune the Dukes have lost in the stock market. Trading Places thus paints a consistently critical picture. The elite treats people from the working class, and even within their own circle, as interchangeable figures. Friendship, morality, and empathy have no place in their world. The film remains a sharp commentary on the idea that social circumstances are decisive for a person's life path. Ultimately, however, the story is also based on the liberal belief that not only class membership but also racial membership are social constructs that do not arise from human nature but are shaped by the social-political environment. Nature versus nurture, according to Trading Places, has only one clear answer, and 40 years after the movie was made, the idea of the melting pot barely has changed in the mainstream media.